All right, hello. Welcome back to Afternoon Drive here on Joppa Radio. My name is Drew Moholland. Hope you're all having a good Tuesday out there, the last week of summer. Very exciting. So usually I'll do my little open, but since, you know what, this is at long last, I've been very excited to talk to William Shuttleworth. He's already here, ready to rock. Let's get right to him. William Shuttleworth, he just walked across the whole country. Welcome back, sir. How are you? This is my first chance to see you in person.
Nice to see you, Drew. I'm doing fine.
Congratulations. What an unbelievable feat you did. I see you got the 10 million steps for vets shirt there. What an unbelievable journey, huh?
It was.
What did we end up raising? I saw that tally was getting up there and up there.
I think it's close to 70,000 now. My goal is 100,000, and I'm hoping that people will help me raise that goal because it goes to a tremendous cause, disabled American veterans.
Still pushing, so we haven't. People should know that it's not over yet. We're still trying to raise money, right? That's a big deal.
They can go on my website, vetsdon'tforgetvets.com, and go to my GoFundMe page and donate. I recommend that people donate a few dollars for every veteran and their family and write a story about them.
Oh, nice.
Share those stories across the country. They're very touching.
Let's talk a little bit about that because I know that was a big part of this whole walk across the country for you. Just let's remind people, too, for maybe people that are late to the party here. So you left Newburyport on?
I left my house on May 15th.
Okay.
And arrived in San Diego on September 1st.
September 1st.
115 days total. I walked 100 days. I took 5 days off for rest and family.
Okay, so you do this. You literally just you put on your shoes. You had that great line that you told me there that I think was just I don't know why it sticks with me so much. But if you want to see how great this country is, put on a couple shoes and start walking.
Yeah, I wore out 5 pairs of shoes. And, probably the greatest finding that I can discuss is how wonderful this country is.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you turn the TV on tonight and watch the news, it makes you want to crawl underneath the bed. You think that the world is coming apart and it's dangerous and unsafe. But after walking 3,300 miles and seeing thousands and thousands of people, 14 states, I've come to the conclusion that America the Beautiful starts with its people.
Yeah, I know it can be easy to forget sometimes when you watch the news and you see some of the bad out there, but I know it must make you proud as a veteran who served this country, not only on our turf, but also overseas. It must make you proud to see how this country comes together. Huh?
The country was fantastic. Yeah. The people were gracious and kind. They did everything in the world to support me. And I want to make sure you understand that actually all of my service in the military was mostly at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama, where I worked as a mental health clinician and a clinical psychologist. Much of my work with POWs when they came back from Southeast Asia.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. So you're walking across the country. I mean, I'm sure you heard story after story, right? I mean, I can't even imagine some of the stuff you heard. You had people coming in, finding you. Maybe they read about your story in the newspaper and came out to find you, but I'm sure you just bumped into some people too.
They did. Of course, I had my backpack on that said, walking across America for vets, stop and ask me, and that precipitated a lot of discussions. People would stop me along the road and talk to me, invite me into their homes.
Right into their homes, really?
Oh, yes. I had many conversations on porches, over coffee tables, and almost every day I started the day off in a diner.
Really?
And met with people. Oftentimes, half of them were veterans telling the stories and listening to them.
Okay. How's the any stories stick out at you? Like maybe a couple that became recurring themes or something along those lines? What jumped out at you the most when you started talking to people on the street?
The recurring theme was the struggle that veterans have getting the health care that they are that they deserve and that they're obligated by government to give to them.
Yeah.
The rigmarole, the red tape, the complications, I'll get back to you, and the filling the form out not exactly right.
Yeah.
The denial of claims. It was overwhelming. And I know that a lot of people that are getting good services from Veterans Administration, but I was left to believe that the Veterans Administration overall is in shambles.
Yeah.
And that we need to take a strong look at how it's being administered and monitored so that the veterans are getting the care and services that they need.
And I knew that was an issue beforehand, but it does bring it home a little bit when you actually meet these people that are struggling, right?
Oh, boy, I met this man about my age, Art, in Quartzsite, California, who had a leg amputated as a result of Agent Orange. And operation after operation couldn't save it. The Veterans Administration Hospital caused all kinds of difficulties.
Yeah.
He got MRSA in his leg, had to amputate it. And even today, the government does not say he qualifies as being disabled.
No leg.
No leg.
Wow.
And so we're
How
trying
does that work? How do they justify that?
it's hard to believe. So true, because they're saying it could be related to his civilian occupation when he got out of the military, find some other loophole. So we're trying to help Art even from Newburyport to get the services that he needs. So I met a young man, 33 years old, along the road in Kansas. He had stood 2 hours waiting for me because he heard that I was coming along.
No kidding.
He was in the military for 10 years, and his primary job was to dispose the bombs that Saddam Hussein left in Iraq, and it caused all kinds of lung and respiratory and heart issues. After all these years, the military, the VA, claims that they're not even sure he was ever in the military. And they're saying that all the paperwork that he's providing could be photoshopped and it wasn't accurate. And listen to this story, a farm boy who's honest as the day is long. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I read the other day that the VA has a pile of unfiled claims that is 5 miles long. Can you fathom that?
No.
So we need to take a look at that so the veterans get the services. From the minute that you file a claim for disability in the military right now, the average time to process that is 568 days.
That's too long.
A year and a half.
When you... have you had personal issues with that as far as filing for or have you been lucky in that regard? But
I've been lucky that I've never needed it.
Yeah. Okay. So you just know about this from your fellow.
Oh yes, and the research, just Google it. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
The debacle that goes on day after day after day after day.
And it must sting more when you have served, and
it does. And when you feel that you're championing the cause for making sure that veterans get their benefits, and that these people. The military wanted them awfully bad to get in, but once they get out, they sometimes forget them, and we can't forget them.
And it's interesting, too, that you bring up, I think a lot of people, when you envision you as you're walking across the country, maybe seeing a lot of the people, of course, that are your age, that maybe are retired or whatever. But, I mean, you said you just bumped into somebody a lot younger who served in one of the more recent wars, and it's it really is. People got to remember that too. It's people my age. It's people it's people that are in the prime of their lives right now too. That
there's a lot of young men and women that have fought in the Mideast War coming back with all kinds of injuries, and they are having to struggle to get the services they need. And we need to make sure that we provide them with the counseling and support, and the counseling needed to get the services that they need. They simply aren't getting them.
Absolutely. Again, we're joined here by William Shuttleworth. He was a veteran who walked the entire country. I still can't get my head around it. And what I really can't get my head around, William, is how quickly you did it. I think to myself, I would maybe have a tough time driving across the country in that amount of time. I get distracted by these things. Unbelievable the amount of time you did it in.
I'd like to put that in perspective. I've heard that comment a number of times of how fast that I did it, and
I love this, by the way.
Well, remember, all I did all day was get up and walk.
I know.
You get up and go to work. You take care of your family. You take the garbage out. You mow the lawn. If you got up and did nothing but walk for 10 hours a day, even at a slow pace of 3 miles an hour, and my pace is 3.75,
okay,
you would walk 30 miles in 10 hours. And I averaged 30 miles in 10 hours, and some days I walked an awful lot more than that because we had cool days and long days, and it actually is pretty easy to do. I mean, people say how heroic that it is, but I'd have to basically say it's just a matter of getting up every day and putting shoes on and doing it.
Well, let me put it in perspective. There was a musician who I follow who was trying to get his music out and was walking across the country, and 12 days in got bit by a rattlesnake. So there are dangers out there.
Yes, people oftentimes were worried about me and said that they thought I was going to get hit by a truck or robbed. The only real danger that I ever had the entire time was a pack of dogs in Colorado that looked at me as if I was breakfast, and that was a little bit of concern of mine, but they got sidetracked or something else and left me alone. I had no issues with anybody in the car, and no illness. I had one slight sunstroke and maybe a mild one another day. Self-imposed by walking too long without drinking water and getting out of the sun.
Gotcha. And you said some of those, that was one of the tougher things was just when it got so hot, because parts of this country do get very hot in the summertime, don't they?
Well, the West had an all-time heat wave this year, and the weather that I'm used to in New England, I can handle rain, sleet, snow easily. But there's no way to really cool your body off when it's 112, 114 degrees. And that day that I got a sunstroke, I walked 36 miles, and it never got below 100. I didn't have enough water. There was no shade. There was no reason to sit down, or because there was no place to hide from the sun at all. Nothing. Not a culvert, not a billboard, nothing. Not a cactus. So I kept on moving and everything. And fortunately, I think divine intervention, I stayed at a firehouse that night, and the firemen recognized immediately that I was in some sort of physical distress and took good care of me.
Really? Okay, so they noticed straight away.
They did.
Yeah, those firemen do a good job. I was talking. One of my buddies is a fireman, and he talked about most of the calls they do are actually like that. It's not so much running into burning buildings all the time, but it's the person that passes out, or the person battling some sort of issue. It's interesting.
You're right. It's true. I was privileged enough to stay at several firehouses across the country that they put me up, and watching how hard they work. Most of the work is, like you said, not firefighting, it's EMT work. Yeah. And they're exposed to tremendous stress and dangers as much as veterans are in the military. And it gave me a great respect for the policemen and the firemen and all the first responders, to how much of their life they put on the line every day and how little resources they have to cope with it.
Absolutely. I wonder obviously, you had a lot of veterans coming out to find you, and I know that some of them stumbled upon you, and some of them came out and waited hours to find you. I wonder, did you get a lot of just the normal average Joe out there, the normal American that just wanted to say thank you to this person walking across the country who would serve the country?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah, a lot. One thing that I saw every day is that the American flag stands for an awful lot. Yeah. It stands for ideologies, and it can embrace differences that sometimes we wouldn't even want to even tolerate. But one thing that I did find is the American flag stands for support for veterans. You'd have to really hunt for someone that didn't want to talk about their respect and gratitude for veterans, and they just want to talk about that. And if they weren't a veteran, they had a veteran in the family. They had a father, a grandfather, an uncle, or aunt, or a cousin, and they wanted to share that story with me.
Did you find it tough to? There's probably some times where you just, what I would just like to keep moving, whether it's because your body feels that way, or maybe you have a goal in mind. Did you ever say to somebody, walk with me? Or
I had many people do walk with me.
Really? Yeah.
I had many people walk with me. Many people wanted to walk with me, and some of them walked with me for a short period of time until they found out it wasn't such a great thing to do. Yeah. But no, I never tried to cut people off. I wanted to listen to them. That was what the purpose of this walk was, is to give them that opportunity to express what was in their heart. That's why I never wore headphones or listened to music, because I thought it was a way of telling people to leave me alone. I was unapproachable. Yeah. I put my cell phone out there. People could call me 24 hours a day. Yeah. And frequently I got calls. I was walking from all over the country. People saw something on TV or a radio clip or a newspaper clipping, and they wanted to talk to me about it.
How about when you are doing that, how about when you do something like this, I imagine some of the relationships, some of the people that you meet along the way, maybe they stick with you, or maybe they feel the need to want to keep you in their lives a little bit. Or do we have some relationships made that are going to carry on?
Oh, yes. I met this little boy, Noah, in Mount Sterling, Illinois. He was 7 years old, and he runs a kiosk stand selling snow cones. And he uses that money to give it to people in greatest need. The day that I was there, he raised over $1,600 for a little girl with a brain tumor.
Oh, wow.
And so somehow Noah got attracted to me and felt that I was sort of like a father figure. And he had a snow cone event and raised $1,000 from my Vets Don't Forget Vets.
Oh, no kidding.
And here I am walking down the street in San Diego on my last day, and Noah comes out from the street and walks with me. His mother thought it was so important that she and her family flew from Illinois out.
Oh, my goodness.
So that he could share that final hour with me.
Wow.
I had people that came all the way from Colorado that wanted to share the last walk with me.
Really? Just to finish with you?
Just to finish with me.
That must have meant a lot to you.
It meant an amazing amount. And every day on Facebook or email or texting, I get calls or notes from people that express gratitude and want to make sure I stay connected to them and talk to them about what my next steps are, literally and figuratively, in terms of supporting my cause that caused me to walk across America to begin with.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. I don't think I had known that part of the story. That's great. I'm glad you told me that. Again, we're joined here by William Shuttleworth. And William, when you make a cross-country trek like that, you obviously you have a great way of seeing a goal and going towards it, and you even downplay it a little bit and say it's really easy. But let's put it this way: you need a lot of support too, don't you? You got a family on
I do.
that is back here, and I know they were good for you.
They were, and I wouldn't say it was easy. I'm just saying that when you say, well, it's hard to fathom, and I just try to put it in the context of
we know
all
what
that
you
you
mean.
did. But my family was very supportive of me. My wife was my guardian angel, but I also had other guardian angels. I met this man on the internet by the name of Mike Bowman in Indiana, who lost his cousin or nephew in the Afghan war. And he was very helpful arranging for media events, housing, food, and also renewed a relationship with a lady by the name of A.J. Thompson in Glenwood, Colorado. She lost her husband through Agent Orange and reached out to me. I hadn't talked to her for 25 years and said, I'm pretty good at connecting with media, and I'd be glad to help connect with TV, radio, and television. She was extremely helpful.
Wow.
But every day I had another guardian angel that wanted to put me up, buy me meals, donate to my cause, making sure that I reach my $100,000 goal. Again, it's just amazing how gracious human beings are.
It really is. You have so many stories like that. I mean, you think about whether it be recent wars or past wars, it's I'm sure you've bumped into many family members of people who have lost loved ones along the way. Is that who you're really, are you thinking about those people who we've lost too, as well as the people that are fighting for the health care and the tough paperwork and getting through all that? I mean, it's kind of a tribute to them too, isn't it? It'll get better.
That's the ultimate sacrifice, all the men and women that died. And if we're not careful, we can forget them quickly.
Yeah.
There are no more World War I veterans. And look at the war that fought and the struggles they had. There's only 400,000 World War II veterans out of the 16 million that fought.
Yeah.
And I met many of them. They're all in their late 80s today. I met a man that fought in 3 wars, Drew. He fought in the World War II, the Korean, and the Vietnam War. Can you imagine that legacy that he has? And we're going to lose that legacy pretty soon when he passes away. Yeah. And 10 years from now, if we're not careful, we'll forget his name.
Yeah.
And we just can't forget that person's name. I also have to make sure that we don't forget the number of soldiers that have taken their life as a result of not being able to deal with it.
Yeah.
I recited the statistic that people have challenged me on because it's almost unbelievable. About 5,000 soldiers have lost their life in the Afghan war. 5,000 too many.
Yeah.
But about 100,000 have taken their life since they returned. 20 times more. And people say, well, where is that statistic? Can you back it up? But all you have to do is Google it. In fact, some states don't actually record death by suicide as a cause of death and report it. So it actually could be even higher than that.
Wow. That hits close to home to you because of how not only just being a service member, but that's what you dealt with. You dealt with these people that came home and struggled.
I did, and a lot of my professional life was as a clinical psychologist in Maine. Yeah. I saw a lot of that. I had a lot of veterans referred to me for depression and for a lot of families too. That's the other thing I should have never have forgot because I was a young father when I was in the military, and I forget how much pressure it is for the wife or husband that stays home when the soldier is off. How much their life is disrupted, and we forget them. They're really silent victims sometimes of the tremendous upheaval that happens when you go into the military.
That is true. I'm happy you said that because it's such a part that people don't think of. It's not, you have these soldiers and everybody who serves can have their own demons wherever they serve, but then they can bring those back home and they can bring those back to their families and it's a chain effect, right?
Just take a look at my own life. I have this lovely wife, Patty, that's independent. We have no children at home. Yeah. We have no big responsibilities, but yet she had to take care of the entire house. She'd take care of pets. The faucet's not fixed. We have to take the garbage out. Yeah. All the little things every day that you have to take care of without the support, without her husband being there.
Yeah.
Think if I had 3 children and trying to get them to school every day and taking to soccer practice and to put food on the table and to try to pay bills. Don't forget those families who need a lot of support.
Yeah, it's. Thank you for mentioning that. Again, we're joined here by William Shuttleworth, who has walked across the country here and is raising money, still raising money. We should keep emphasizing that as well. Make sure the website again, William, feel free to say it again.
Vets, don't forget vets.com. There's an easy button on it. They can go to GoFundMe, and all of that money, 100% of that money goes toward restoring and rehabilitating veterans. My intent, hopefully, is to get that $100,000 and present it to the president of DAV with a real nice ceremony to honor what we're trying to do. People say, gosh, it takes millions to do this, but, you know, every dollar counts.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we take that effort, because my efforts can multiply because other people begin to have an awareness of how much money it takes to take care of our veterans, and it can't all come from the government. It doesn't all come from the government. That's why we have people like me walking across the country to do it.
That's right, and every little bit helps, like Noah, right, with the snow cones.
That's right.
It's a big help. I wonder, I was thinking about you recently because obviously September 11th has just come and gone. And talk about, you know, forgetting about moments in history. I was, you know, reading about how this is like the first high school class that did not live through September 11th, which is just, for me, is unfathomable to have, you know, this will be after these seniors go. This is it. Now there's a whole new wave of high schoolers who aren't even alive. And you talk to some of them, and, you know, it's a little bit of a, yeah, you know, that was obviously big. Yeah, it's tragic, but, you know, it didn't affect them like when you've lived through it. And I'm sure that's a lot of the case when it comes to a lot of service. I was thinking about you, though, specifically because there was a story about the plane that ended up coming down in Pennsylvania, and, you know, the passengers fought the hijackers and took that plane down, saving a lot of lives and potential catastrophe. But they had sent, I was reading a story in the Washington Post about how they sent up a aircraft in an Air Force. She was a woman, a female pilot went up, and they told her that her mission looks like it was going to be to take down this airplane. She said, okay, and she thought to herself, I've only been on a training mission. I'm the closest airplane. I don't have any ammo. This was essentially going to be a kamikaze mission. She took off and went up and was in the air without even thinking about it. Right. And I thought to myself, that is some sort of, how have I just heard this story? First of all, it had been out there a little bit, but I mean, she wasn't talking to the media very much. And that is like courage like no other. And I'm just thinking to myself, I mean, that must make every Air Force veteran proud as can be when you hear a story like that.
It brings tears to your eyes, Drew, when you think about that. But her commitment is no different than the commitment of a Newburyport police officer. Yeah. Every day they put the uniform on, and they agree to put their life on the line to make sure that you're safe. Yeah. Every soldier puts his life on the line to make sure that you have air to breathe that's free. Yeah, that's a big commitment. I mean, that's a tremendous commitment, and you just do it.
It doesn't surprise you at all. That's what you signed up for.
It doesn't surprise me. Yeah, any Air Force officer, any Army soldier, any Marine would do the same thing. Any Newburyport police officer or fireman or EMT goes into that building or stops that car recognizing it could be the last thing that they ever do in their life, and they do it to protect our society. God bless them.
Yeah, it is. It's something. I mean, and you think about all the stories on a daily basis. You're right. I mean, not every job, let's face it, not every job carries with it that risk.
No, of course not.
I mean, anything could happen on any day, but the risks are up when you're a police officer.
The risks are up. I mean, when you sign in that line to say, I enlist into the military, or I join the military, or become a police officer, you knowingly agree that your life could be forfeited for the benefit of somebody else's.
And you mentioned the fireman and the policeman that you bumped into across the your trip across the country. I wonder, you strike me as somebody who never really lost you had plenty of respect for them beforehand, but was there room to go up a little bit in your eyes when you meet them across the country like this?
It is. You know, sometimes you think of firemen sitting around polishing their trucks, but I never slept well at night in the fire department. Because
so much going
the
on.
sirens go on all night, the bells and whistles. Those guys must have insomnia on a regular basis because they're first responders all the time. They were out all the time.
How many nights you sleep in a firehouse?
Maybe 7.
7, wow.
Yeah,
So,
it was lovely. It was really quite lovely.
There they are calling now. It was a good stay though in the fire.
Oh, it was lovely. Just getting to know the people and the pictures we took, the meals that we had, the camaraderie, the friendship. It was really a love. I always look forward to those nights.
It brings a natural smile to your face.
It really does. It was a lot of fun.
All right, walk me through this a little bit too, because this is the one question that every time I hung the phone up with you, people would ask me because they would want some more information. The one question everybody wanted to know was, where did you sleep? And you say the firehouses are some night, but not every night.
Well, initially I slept in my tent.
Just
behind
in your backpack. Tent in the backpack.
Yep.
Okay.
And right there.
There it is. Okay.
Still in there.
Yeah.
Sleep behind a church in a public park. Once the story became a relatively known story across the country, each town that it came to would seem to go out of their way to try to accommodate me and put me up and provide a meal for me and arrange for an event at a VFW or an Elks Lodge or an American Legion or some public event. So after I got to Indiana, I actually never slept in the tent at all, even though I was fully prepared to do that because of the graciousness and kindness of people wanting me to be comfortable so that I could participate in a community event that night or two.
How about that?
Yeah, it was quite lovely.
That is fantastic. And so would you pretty much try to get some sleep every night? I mean, you're trying to work a normal day. You're trying to make the walking during your day, the job, and then sleep at night. Is that?
Oh yes, I made it very clear when I went to someone's houses for the night that I was a poor guest because 9 o'clock I was done because I'd get up at 5 o'clock the next day. When it got really hot out in the desert, some days I left at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. To avoid that unbearable heat that would come sometimes as early as 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning and just start melting you. Remember, when it's 110 degrees outside, the pavement is 150.
Yeah.
So, boy, you can feel it through your legs, your feet, your shoes, and everything.
So 5 pairs of shoes?
I wear 5 pairs of shoes. Great shoes, though, boy.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing that I had one slight blister, and that was at the very beginning when it rained for 12 hours a day, and my feet just got too wet.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't get a single blister. I didn't get a cramp. I didn't get an ache. I mean,
no kidding.
Yeah, I think God must have been with me on this trip.
Well, I mean, I recall having we were sitting right here, and you told me that you had gone to your doctor, and he had said something along the. I mean, I don't think he doubted that you could do it, but he had some concerns. I think it's safe to say, right?
Right. I mean, I had one doctor say that it was a great idea, but a man my age would run out of cartilage.
Right, that's right, yeah.
Well, I didn't run out of cartilage. And,
did you go back to see him yet?
No, I haven't. I try to avoid doctors and lawyers as much as the plague, as if it can. So they're good to people to have, but you hope that you never have them in your life.
That's right. Well, when you do hop back in there, you can say, it worked out all right.
Worked out all right. So.
That is something. What about just, I mean, this was a cause, and you met all sorts of people, and you had an important message, but did you ever get to just kind of step back, have a minute to yourself, and say, it's beautiful out here?
It really is. The thing that people forget, Drew, is that much of the time you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you walk across Kansas, and there's wheat fields, cornfields, and soybean fields, and sometimes you can go for 5 hours without seeing a car or a person, and it's a time not only to appreciate how staggering beautiful country this is, but it's also a time to reflect on your own life and who you are and what it means to do this. And sometimes those hours begin to reflect on regrets that you have and things you could have done differently. And
you seem like a very positive guy. I know you take yourself there a little bit.
Oh, of course you do.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has pieces of their life that they wish that they could repaint or redo, and that's an opportunity to do that. It makes you better, you know, to take a look at what's in your closet, and the skeletons allows you to grow and be a better human being, and you have a lot of time to do that. Barry Connell, the city councilman who introduced me at my reception, captured that. He talked about how many hours that the average person would be by themselves when they walk across the country. It was as if he had been there before.
Yeah.
And I've been a runner all my life, so when you run for 5 or 6 or 7 hours at a time, Maybe not that long, but I have before. You have a lot of time to think, and again, appreciate the beauty.
Absolutely.
I mean, one of my greatest moments was walking up this crest in Colorado and seeing the Rocky Mountains for the first time as a pedestrian.
Yeah.
I've seen it many times in the airplane and in the car, but to walk across the country and then see the Rocky Mountains as a pedestrian brought tears to my eyes. I just, wow, stunning.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
And what's it like getting through there? I mean, you eventually say, all right, keep on trucking and...
Well, you know, it's an illusion because you see the Rocky Mountains, but you don't get on them for 3 days.
Oh, yes. I see, yeah.
It looks like it's going to be there in a couple of hours. I said, my God, am I ever going to get on top of these mountains?
Wow.
And then
that's
when you
visual, yeah.
Then when you get on top of Loveland Pass, which is a few feet shy of 12,000 feet, and you see how just gorgeous it is, and just know by then your body's in such great shape. You've already walked 2,000 miles. It was effortless to walk up the mountain at that point.
Really?
It was effortless.
Did you get stronger, you think, as you went?
Oh, of course you do.
Really?
I mean, your body's nothing but sinew, and you exercise and get stronger. It got stronger all the time. I got a little weak to begin with because I couldn't eat enough. I lost 10 pounds in the first month of walking, and my wife saw me on Facebook, and she said, honey, you got to eat more. You're losing weight.
Still looking up on you.
And, you know, I'm back home, I'm on a plant-based diet, so I don't eat any milk products or dairy products or meat.
Yeah.
I had to add dairy products and eggs to my diet to have enough protein, and I worked really hard to gain some of that weight back so I'd have the strength. And once I gained most of that back, I didn't weigh a lot to begin with, but once I gained my 148 pounds back, I was ready to go every day.
That is something. Yeah, you are in fabulous shape. It's I mean, have you continued it since you got back? Do you go to the gym? Do you just run? What do you do?
I don't like the gym. I don't like breathing other people's sweat.
Yeah.
I encourage other people to do that, but you know, the best exercise in the world is what I do is walk every day.
Walk every day.
I haven't been able to walk 30 miles every day, but I never get in my car.
Yeah.
If I need a quart of milk, I live right across from the YWCA. I walk out to the market basket to get it.
Yeah.
If I have an errand to do. So I've been putting on 10, 15, 20 miles every day, and that's a lot. You know, when you say I'm in good shape, anybody would be if they walked as much as I do.
Yeah.
It's an excuse that people use not to be in shape. Oh, they do. It doesn't require a gym membership or anything. It just requires the desire to be outside.
Just get out there and move.
And it's a gift that you give yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. It must have been, it's probably a time to be, I mean, shorter time than your long walk, but time to be with your thoughts too, right?
And I know the average person who's working can't take that time. Yeah. I can that time. So they may have to compact that time and go to a gym and do that, and I think that's good too. But I think everybody has a responsibility to take care of the body. Yeah. You only have one.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much of the illnesses that we have in our society are self-imposed, and that we could prevent them by a vigorous desire and commitment to take care of the one body that God gave to us.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right. How do you like the plant-based diet, by the way? My wife is doing it right now. And she's done it for like 4 months.
Oh, well,
she's all in.
I've been a vegetarian for 35 years.
Oh, 35?
Or
no
maybe
kidding.
More than that.
I don't think this ever came up. 35.
Yeah,
wow.
Maybe more than that. And then my wife decided that it was time for me to go on a plant-based diet and eliminate eggs and milk.
Yeah.
And I still can't have coffee without my cream, so that's my one mortal sin every day.
Really? The coffee guy, huh? How about, do you do the fish? Do you do fish?
Occasionally I do. It was a big part of my diet as a vegetarian. I guess you can't actually call yourself a strict vegetarian if you eat fish. Yeah. But I don't remember the last time I had a piece of fish now.
Wow.
And I'm healthy. I never get sick.
Yeah.
My wife says I cause headaches. I don't get them. Well, she doesn't say that.
What does, I know you got into this a little bit, but I can imagine, and maybe she's modest like you and doesn't like to talk about these things, but I can imagine that this was not the easiest thing on your wife to have. I bet she just worried about you, just being away.
She might have worried about me. You know, Patty is the type of person that feels that everybody has their dreams, and that she was the last person in the world to want to thwart this, and that she wanted to support me.
Yeah.
So whatever worries and doubts and frets that she had, I never really heard them. All I heard was positive intent and optimism every time I talked to her, and I talked to her every day.
It probably really makes it a lot more difficult if that's the other direction,
right, huh? Right. And I don't live with a lot of fear myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I oftentimes say that that once you eliminate fear from your life, you have unlimited opportunities to do anything in the world that you want to accomplish. It was amazing how many people were fearful of me. They were always scared that something going to happen to me.
Wow.
Always.
Even the people that you bumped into on the way?
And then one day I met this couple in Kansas. They stopped. They had been looking for me for 2 hours.
Wow.
And here they were worried about my health, but they had just come back from a nursing home where they had said goodbye to their very best friend who actually choked to death at their own home on his 50th birthday.
Oh, man.
So I said, why are you worrying about me when danger was at your dining room table and you didn't even know it?
Yeah.
You know, when your time's up, your time is up.
Sometimes you just can't control.
If you worry about everything that could ever happen to you, you would never get out of bed in the morning, would you?
Yeah.
I never flinched when a car went by me. I never, it's figure that I'm going to be okay.
I think, that's what makes you who you are there, William. It's no fear at all.
And the policemen and then the sheriffs and the state troopers had become my best friends across the country.
Is that right? Yeah.
They'd hear a radio report or something on TV, and they'd stop and they'd provide me with water, granola bars. They'd want to have breakfast with me. Yeah. And then they'd radio forward. They said, William is coming. Make sure you take care of him. Say hello to him.
Really?
It was just amazing.
There is a special bond, isn't there, anyway, between military and police, military and firemen?
Oh, we tease each other all the time. Being in the Air Force, everybody says I had better food, better beds, better chairs, and all of that because we somehow thought that we were better than each other. And I say it's only because we were better looking. So we have that banter back and forth. But when it gets right down to it, we're all brothers and we all sisters. We did the same thing and we care about each other and we have each other's backs all the time.
Yeah, that's and of course I'm not exactly sure what the percentages are, but I'm sure it's a very large percentage of service members have gone into becoming a policeman or becoming a firefighter.
It is amazing. Yeah. It was like walked across the country as to how many police officers were in the guards or had been in the service. I was unaware of that.
Yeah.
But overall, there's only 7% of Americans that are veterans. And when my generation dies off, the Vietnam era veterans, it'll be down to 3%.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose my website, my cause very carefully. Vets Don't Forget Vets. Because we don't forget each other.
Yeah.
We don't want America to forget us.
Yeah, the vets not forgetting vets really isn't the problem, is it? It's the rest of the country.
Exactly.
And it's more than just I'm sure there's a part of you. I mean, I'm sure you appreciate all the days that are designed and all the ceremonies that are designed for veterans over the course of a year. But is there a part of you that says the parades are great and all that, but you know what? It needs to be tomorrow too, and it needs to be the next day.
And you could overkill that. Oftentimes, and I see Veterans Day and I see Flag Day, see the flags everywhere, and of course I saw all of those. I went across the country. Yeah. And then the next day they're sort of being putting away. But you can't have them every day, otherwise you become same old. But yes, we can't forget that every day actually is Veterans Day.
Yeah.
Today is a Veterans Day to celebrate. And that's why I've encouraged people to find small ways in the community to honor their veterans. I was in a small town in Colorado, and I had lunch with the mayor. I said, how many veterans are in your town? She says, I don't know the name of a single veteran. And I talked to her further. She was born in that town.
Wow.
I said, how could it be that you don't know a single veteran in your town? She said, I don't know. I said, let's go for a walk. So we left the restaurant and we walked downtown, and you sort of had an intuitive way of knowing who was a veteran. I go up to him and say, are you from this town, you a veteran? Yeah. Within 20 minutes, we met 5 veterans.
No kidding.
And she says, oh, my God. She says, I got to do a better job.
A little embarrassed.
Yeah, well, she hadn't had that on her radar screen. Yeah. She was a very competent person and cared deeply about her community. I said, well, how can you help veterans and recognize them and support all that they need to be supported in this town if you actually haven't gone out to find out who they are?
Yeah.
I said, you find ways, give them a cup of coffee, invite them into a circle of conversation so you get to know them.
That's fascinating, and I bet she will now.
I bet she will.
I bet that sticks with her.
I bet she will. I stayed at the mayor's house in Bluff, Colorado, lovely town. And she said, well, when I first went through town, she thought, well, this might be kind of a nice thing, you know, a guy walking across the town. But she says, you open my eyes to what I need to do to support veterans. And she's been in contact with me since then about what she can do and needs to do to recognize and to support the veterans in their community.
You know, and you mentioned how, you know, your generation will, of course, the numbers will go down. But I mean, there's still people right now fighting overseas. We just had an American service member lose their life in Afghanistan today.
I know.
And it's for some reason that, you know, you read that in a news story and it does strike you, an American killed in Afghanistan. Really, that's still going on.
I know.
That's, you know, but then I think it's very easy, and I think it's, I don't know, maybe it's just because we got this cell phone all the time and there's something always the next thing to move on to, but it is easy to flip the page and move on, and that's kind of a shame. That's the thing we need to stop is
it is
forgetting about that life that was given.
It is.
Today.
We have to honor that life, and we also have to be careful about the flag waving and being ultra patriotic without questioning what we're doing.
Yeah, it's the second time you've mentioned that. Is that bothers you a little bit?
That bothers me a lot because I think that, you know, as much as we stand in line to protect and defend our country, the number one purpose of a veteran, a military, is to keep peace.
Yeah.
Our job is not to kill people. That's a last resort, but we need to stand for peace and reconciliation and finding ways to reach out and support each other. Instead of invading some of the countries that we have invaded for God knows what reason, I think we'd have been better off to use the military to build schools and hospitals and to help children in their homes. I think that might have been a better bridge. You know, I can say this because I served during the Vietnam War. But I actually don't know if there's any intelligent human being that could actually sit down and justify a single outcome of the Vietnam War that was positive. If it was to prevent anything, it didn't prevent anything. And what it did, it was prevent 56,000 people from keeping their life.
Yeah.
One of my saddest days was in Canton, Ohio, when I went to a memorial and saw a gravestone of a boy who was born my exact birthday.
Yeah.
And he died at 19. And here I thought about that. September 24th, 1947, my birthday. He died at 19. He never had a chance to maybe even have a girlfriend or a wife, children, grandchildren, a job.
Yeah.
What was that for? You know, we can't forget that boy.
When, and I know we talked a lot about Vietnam the last time you were on, and when you bump into those people in particular, I'm sure you talked about that keen sense of knowing. You can kind of tell when a veteran. Can you kind of tell when somebody has served just by maybe a sentence or two right off the bat?
You can.
Yeah.
You can. You can tell. You can tell. You just know that there's that sort of brotherhood they share, and it doesn't take long to have that conversation.
Yeah.
I had those conversations where men would sit with me on their front porch over a cup of coffee, and they start telling a story, and their wife would come out because she was hearing things through the window she had never heard before.
Yeah.
And he'd say, go back inside. He still was not able to share that story. But here's a man he hadn't met for half an hour sharing that history. It's just this, it is this fraternity.
And comfortable telling it to you.
It is.
And you hear that so often, especially about Vietnam. What was it besides I mean, I think we know what it could have been. It was a tough one, a lot of tough battles. But what is it about Vietnam that so many men your age have a tough time talking about to this day?
A lot of reasons. It was the first war televised. You could
television plays a big role. You think, yeah,
of course, you could sit down and watch the war as it unfolded.
Yeah.
And every night they had a body count, and then you had people protesting the war, and somehow the soldiers got inadvertently marginalized by all of the protests. You had well-meaning people like Jane Fonda that basically made American soldiers appear as if we were baby killers. And I know many men never admitted that they were ever in the Vietnam for 10, 15 years after they were in, because they came back and they were ashamed. I talked to people across the country, Drew, that had apples and eggs thrown at them as they returned home on American soil.
Really?
Yeah. So it was a tough war. It was a very unpopular war compared to World War II, the war to end all wars. And when Tom Brokaw calls the World War II veterans the greatest generation that ever lived, doesn't that, without meaning, marginalize every soldier that came after that?
Yeah.
That the greatest generation ever doesn't include me?
Yeah.
Well, it should.
That's, I can imagine that pretty much everybody who was in your situation feels that way.
Exactly. And tell that to someone who lost their husband or wife in the Vietnam War, that the greatest generation was in World War II, and you have a corpse that you go to visit on a regular basis at a cemetery.
And really, they were doing just what that previous generation did, right?
Exactly.
Following orders.
Exactly.
And, when you think back of all the I mean, for me, it's actually, that's the first time I'd actually heard about eggs being thrown. That's I had not heard
frequently.
Yeah, that's tough to picture, I think, in 2019.
Well, Google it.
Yeah, no, I know.
Go on YouTube. You see,
I know
the videos
right,
are there. They still exist.
I just, it's funny. You think about the unpopular wars we've had here, and I think even in the last 15, 20 years, and but those, it seems like they come back and they're still soldiers are treated with respect. Even though it seems like that separation is there now, where it wasn't after Vietnam.
They are treated with respect, but obviously something's happening to these men and women when they come back, because of the number of soldiers that take their lives.
Yeah.
Something's happening on that.
What is it per day? I heard a staggering number.
I don't know. There's this organization called 22 a day, and it's a lot higher than that, because states like Texas and California, they don't actually report the military deaths by suicide to the government. So my best estimate is about 50 a day.
I'd say that's an incredible number.
Think of it. It's a tremendous tragedy. 22 is too many, but the number is more than that. In fact, a lot of states have coroners that you need an 8th grade education, and so they may not even record that as a suicide. And then some religious affiliations consider taking your life as a mortal sin. So an attending coroner is reluctant to report that as a suicide. That doesn't also include the number of veterans that die of opioid overdose that could have been intentional.
I was going to ask you about that last time you were here, and I didn't get to it, but I can imagine with that being an epidemic like I have never seen before. And I'm 32. It is the epidemic of my lifetime right now. I have friends who have battled it, and I didn't even know about it for a while. I can imagine within those circles that is becoming that maybe it has been for a while. I can imagine that is a big issue within the people that are coming home.
It is, and I heard about it all over the country. You have people that have been terribly physically wounded in the Mideast. They do not have the medical care to support them. The physicians' rate is insignificant to the needs, so they basically prescribe opioids. They're very addictive.
Overprescribed.
Overprescribed. Yeah. They're very addictive to them, and then oftentimes, when they get out of the military now, they have to file claims to get them. The claims take 568 days. Now the veteran has to seek, oftentimes illegal ways, to obtain the medication that basically he was receiving as a prescribed medication as a soldier. It's a tough issue.
And when you talk about that sort of pain that a lot of these guys and women might be dealing with, 568 days is almost laughable. I mean, it's an eternity when you're talking about some of the problems, right? I mean,
only 1 out of 5 soldiers that are eligible for Veterans Administration health care actually receive it, because they just get fed up and either do without it, or they pay for it out of their pocket, or get it illegally.
And it's a vicious cycle. I mean, I'm sure you've heard about, I mean, some of the pain is not only real, it's unbearable in a lot of cases, and help is needed. So, I mean, I know this is preaching to the choir here with you, but it's
right. A lot of the opioids are used to mask the emotional pain that they're having too. Yeah. I read that the average soldier served 41 days in combat during World War II. 41 days.
Yeah.
The average soldier in Vietnam served 221.
Wow.
And that's about the same number of days of the average soldier serving in the Mideast War, and they have frequent redeployments.
Yeah.
So not only is it a more televised war, an uncelebrated war, they're in the actual war combat 5 times longer than the soldier was in World War II. We have to recognize that as a strain and a stress.
For somebody who has never served, what is that? What is that when you're away for that long time? You're away from your family. You're away from normals. You're away from the city. You're away from everything that you've grown up with. What is it like when you're away for that extended amount of time?
Well, not only are you away from your comfort zone and your support system, you are now required to do things that are the antithesis to everything that you grew up with. Mm-hmm. You were taught to take care of a butterfly.
Yeah.
You know, not step on a crack. You might make your mother's back.
Yeah.
And now you're thrust into a war situation, and that murder is legal and exonerated, and you get decorated for it.
Yeah.
It's a total moral change of what you have to do to have to face, and we're not preparing the soldiers for that, and that we're not also dealing with them in a productive way when they return.
And still, you feel is it still? Are there things that you could be doing with soldiers in basic training right now to prepare them for that?
Well, I think that we have to do an awful lot more of counseling.
Yeah.
I've talked to so many soldiers that basically on the way out, they were said, "Are you depressed?" No, then you're good to go, without really having a mental health examination and support system.
Yeah.
And I think that every man or woman coming back from a Mideast war right now should be monitored for 12 months on a monthly basis just to check in to see how you're doing. But let's see how things are going for you, and how can we help, and how can you make sure you are getting back into your comfort zone of living.
How many of you are there out there as people that are actually trained, actually have the steps, actually served, that can do that sort of training?
Not many.
Not enough.
No, not many. No, not many, and that's too bad. Go back again to the VA center. When I was in Denver, Colorado, they took them almost 10 years to build a hospital in Denver.
Yeah,
a VA hospital. $2 billion overrun, and they never found out where that $2 billion left. And they did away with the entire PTSD unit.
Wow.
To make room for
That's what they
bureaucrats.
decided to cut.
Yeah, to make room for administration and bureaucrats. So we're not getting the support that we need. The money's not there. The counseling's not there.
I mean, I'm sure you. I know that that message hit to everybody that you spoke to on that walk, whether it be the boy named Noah or the mayor who had never met a veteran.
And all the military soldiers that I talked to that said we're not getting the services that we need.
How does the message? How do you continue besides great efforts by you and besides coming on these shows and? How does that message continue to get out there that we're not taking care of our veterans enough? Because veterans, they tend not to complain.
No, we don't.
And they're not going to do it. They're not going to be the ones screaming. It seems like it's going to take some help.
Yeah, and we're not going to say we're depressed.
Yeah.
It's going to take more and more public awareness and veterans being elected. I do believe that we need to have more veterans run for office so that we have that voice. The rich have their voice, don't they? Because rich people run for office.
Yep.
And so you see that the rich take care of themselves. We need veterans to be elected to take care of themselves. That was my fourth platform, is to have more veterans run for office. And yesterday I got a call from a man in Colorado to say he's running for Senate as a result of hearing me.
Inspired.
There
you go.
I can't wait. I'm all for him.
He didn't ask you to run with him, did he?
No. Well, I'm not a Colorado resident. No. But I was honored that my inspiration pushed him to declare his candidacy for an open race in the Colorado Senate.
That is fantastic. I think, and I mean, I know the numbers are down. I think, is there anybody running right now that you've had the chance to meet as far as somebody who has served? I know locally we have Seth Moulton, I know, served here.
Yes, and one of his aides met with me at the reception downtown, and I've had other veterans reach out to me that run for office or have been in the office, and we need to make sure it's not only at the national level but the local level.
That must have been fun. I know you weren't in it for the party afterwards, but I know that must have been fun coming home and having all those people there to greet you. I'm sure you must have enjoyed that a little.
Well, it was a nice recognition and reception, and I think it's because, again, people really do care about the cause.
Yeah.
I think if I had walked across to promote any other cause, it might not have been that, but people come out to support veterans, and I'm very grateful that they do, and I hope that they continue to do that.
The one question I know I've actually asked you, not in this microphone, but I have asked you since you got back, and I'm sure you get asked it a lot. Do you ever think about giving up on that walk?
No.
Never.
No, it's not my nature.
You were in it to finish.
No, you talk to anybody who knows William Shuttleworth. He doesn't.
Once you laced them up, you were going.
Never give up. Never. No, not in my system at all.
I am not letting you leave this room without saying congratulations to the newest member of your family.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Why don't you tell us who we added to the Shuttleworth family?
My youngest son, Andrew, and his wife, Beth, he just had a baby, a little girl named Ellsworth Ellen.
Yep.
Quite a name, huh?
Yeah, Ellsworth Ellen. How about that?
6 pounds, 6 ounce, absolute gorgeous beauty.
There you go.
And they live outside of Portland, Maine, so delighted to have them so close.
So in 10 years, you're going to be telling her, so you wouldn't believe what I was doing a month before you were born. You had to make sure you got back in time, right?
I got back a week before she was born, so I'm delighted because I wasn't expected to be back until after she was born. So to see her a day or two after she was born was a real privilege.
Did you speed up because of her?
No. No, I sped up because I took advantage of the fact that my wife wasn't there to yell at me that I'm not walking more than 20 miles a day.
There you go. You knocked off a couple extra miles some nights, huh? Well, good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. I know, like you need anything else to keep you busy, but that should help for a little bit, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, William Shuttleworth, thank you so much for coming on again. Thank you for keeping us updated during your walk, and thank you for all that you've done for veterans and the veterans causes here. I want you to say it one more time. Let's make sure we get that website out. Say it one more time.
Yeah, make sure that people go on my website because it continues to remain active. Vets Don't Forget Vets.com, and please feel free to donate at least $1 million.
Donate $1 million. There you go. At least $1 million. Perfect. But every little bit helps, and I think you learned that from a lot of those stories along the way there, and some great stories. Congratulations. You're an amazing man. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Thanks, Drew. Nice to be here today.
Thank you so much for coming on. And that's, I mean, what else can you say? I do a full hour. I skip the commercials. I guess that's what I do when I have people like William on who I just get caught up in talking to. So we went the whole time. I'll make up the commercials someday, all right? How about that? My name is Drew Moholland. Thank you so much for joining us again on a Tuesday afternoon here in Newburyport. We'll be back Thursday to close out the week. Big thanks to Lily Doucette. Lily, you can get a little wave in there. Can you see Lily? There's the hand in there. There she is. Very good. Lily, thank you for producing. Tyler Neufeld in the back as well. Helped us get set up. And Sarah Hayden, who's making it all possible back there as well. This has been Afternoon Drive. My name is Drew Moholland. Big thanks to William Shuttleworth, the one and only. Just an amazing man. We'll have him on again. Promise, William? Do it again someday?
Call me anytime.
Anytime. All right. I might take you up on that. Thank you, William Shuttleworth. We'll see you Thursday, everybody. Bye-bye now.